Okay, chapter 6, using primary sources. In this chapter, I look at 3 elements of a primary source that Thomas Felt came up with. One is called closeness. By being close to somebody, primary resource is talking to your grandfather, for instance, or talking to a person who has just experienced an event. Or perhaps you went to the local town hall where I used to take my students, and we would look at old tax records and see who owed how much. Closeness, personalizing something. Competence and impartiality. Those 3 concepts I use in chapter 6 to help you use primary sources, whether they're photographs, and this particular photograph is, I think, is very interesting. It tells us an awful lot about a situation. This particular photograph was done by a Farm Security Administration photographer during the Great Depression, and it tells us something about what America was like at that time. Another photograph taken by a different FSA photographer also gives us a different perspective on what was taking place during that time period. Primary sources, particularly photographs, are going to help students better understand what circumstances were like in their local community. In this particular case, these 2, the Great Depression. But we can also go back much further, and we can look at letters. We can look at Bibles. Bibles are an incredible source of information if you're doing a local history project. It tells us very often about the family, sometimes why they got there, okay? So the notion that we need to learn from the past is so much associated with using primary sources. We look at old newspapers. What were they advertising? What were people purchasing? More importantly, though, what were people listening to or reading about in terms of the news? What actually happened? So we can take newspapers all the way back into the 17th century in terms of doing local research. I think students get so excited when they open up a book or a memorandum or anything where they can read that somebody has written about an experience that just took place. A diary. People that were coming across to America on ships, whether it was 1910 or 1830, what were they saying about that ocean voyage? And again, using the themes of geography, why were they moving here? Were they leaving for a reason? Were they coming here for a different reason? Those are the possibilities that we have when we use primary sources to help our students better understand history. I had one of my students at the junior high in Rye, where I taught, brought a photograph to class one day. We were doing the same activity. Her grandmother was one of 7 girls, and each of those girls had a black horse. We had a portrait of 7 horses and 7 girls. It was magnificent. And the kids just talked about that for most of the class. So please think about using primary sources as a way of teaching local history. Thank you.